What's going on, everybody? I'm Spencer Tillis with Burn City Sports. Well, last night was the NBA All-Star Game. I'm not going to say it was good. It was better, but there's still a lot that needs to change. So let's break down some of the things that were the big takeaways from what I saw from this whole new four-team tournament, all the changes that are kind of going on with the game right now. I, for one, have been one of the main guys that have been bashing on the All-Star Game the last few years because, and deservingly so, it has been awful. The product on the court isn't basketball. It's just layups and half-court threes, and it is unwatchable basically the last few years. It wasn't quite that this year. I will give him this much. There was a lot better effort. There was actual kind of Olay defense, some guys actually a little bit in a stance, and it looked like they were more into it than what we've seen the last few years. I would say that's a plot positive. There's something to build off of there. At least these guys seemingly were trying for part of it. And if we can get some of the element of, effort back into this game, and that's really kind of all that fans want to see, is the best players in the world playing hard and going after it against each other. Something that we have not seen the last few years. It's a crazy concept. Just play a little bit of basketball, play hard, and fans will respond to that. I don't know why players are acting like that is an outrageous request to have. Anyway, all right. So on the positive, like I said, there was some effort. So that's a perk. That's something to build off of. There was a lot of things that did not work out very well in this entire All-Star weekend, though. Let's start with the dunk contest. Mac McClung is trying to save this thing, and some of his dunks were pretty cool. I mean, it wasn't bad. I still kind of can't get excited over the fact that we have a G League player going up against guys that most NBA fans don't know are in the league or who they are. There's something missing when you don't have the brand name guys that are out there, like the Vince Carters, the Kobe Bryants, the guys that everyone knew were the best dunkers in the league. They were the superstar players, and they're going at it. The easy take is to say this is on LeBron, the fact that he was the best dunker in the league for about 10 years, and he never competed in it. I don't know if I want to say that's on him or because there's been players since then that still could have also done it, and he could have been the outlier. But it just feels like the dunk contest is missing something when the best guys that you're running out there are guys that you hear of once a year, and it's the dunk contest, and then they disappear, and then they're just on the roster or in the G League. Doesn't really do it for me. The Rising Stars Challenge, okay, I'm not super excited about it. You have the Celebrity Game. I'm getting old. I watched the Celebrity Game, and I didn't know anybody out there. Also, why do I care? It doesn't really do anything for me. Go to the Skills Challenge. I mean, okay, it doesn't really do anything for me again. The Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul kind of finagling it and trying to cheat a little bit off of the rules or just trying to win it. I thought it was kind of funny. It's gamesmanship. If you're going to have the rules like that, why not disqualifying them? You made the rules. They're just playing by the rules. How are you going to get mad by it? It's also a facade. The entire thing is just a kind of made up little competition. What's the problem here? I don't get it. So that's all leading up to the actual game itself. So like I said, we had better effort, needed it, because the effort the last few years has been horrendous when games are 200 to 200 points each and there is zero defense. It's just half-court threes. No one wants to watch that. The product was turning into, and it probably was, the worst All-Star game of any professional sports, and that includes the Pro Bowl, which we're now doing dodgeball and stuff with it. So, it has gotten really, really bad. Better this year. Not great, but it was much better. Wasn't perfect, though. So the things that really, really, really were hard to watch, I don't know why we were having so many breaks. We were having concerts. It felt like every 15 points we would take an intermission, and then they would just trot out Kevin Hart, who would just start talking for a while and make some jokes. And I'm a pretty big Kevin Hart fan. I think he's pretty funny. And yet that got old after about 5 minutes. There was so much side stuff going on. Once again, crazy concept. What if we just played basketball? What if we just had a basketball game rather than kind of all of these sideshow things that were going on? it was really, really tough there for a hot stretch of that entire game where it just felt like the players were the side piece to what was going on. Like it was a goodbye to the TNT crew. It was a Kevin Hart sideshow. And then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, every now and then we're going to play kind of basketball for a little bit. I mean, the flow of the entire night was just ruined with what they were doing on the layout. I get it. I mean, it is a little bit of a show, and it's supposed to be, but the show should be on basketball. The show should be focused on the players and the sport, not kind of this side attraction, and that's what it really turned into, which got pretty tough. Secondly, while I say the effort was better, it was better in the semifinal games than it was in the championship game, which is pretty disappointing because the championship game, you'd want to showcase everything, and yet the defense got worse. The shot attempts got worse. It turned into more half-court stuff. And then all of a sudden, I mean, you literally go to the game-winning basket, which was an uncontested backdoor cut for a game-winning dunk where Sengun just decided to not play defense anymore, and it was like, that's it. That's capping off the entire All-Star game. Like, normally, at least I can say this much, at least prior in the old All-Star games, for 3.5 quarters, it was awful. But at least down the stretch, when it finished, you saw good basketball and like a decent product where guys were getting in the stands and it was a little bit of basketball. It was almost the reverse, which is not good. Starting off with a good product, and then when it should start to matter, people stopped playing completely and it turned into just layups and half-court 3 attempts. And it's such a hard product to get behind and watch. And I mean, it's tough. So like, yeah, they need to find a way to finish better because the way that they started was pretty good. The way that they finished was awful. Then you got kind of all the sideshow, which is the last thing, which is, I think, kind of where the league's getting a little ugly, is there's this new wave of journalists, there's a new wave of players that really critique kind of everything that's going on, kind of led by Draymond Green at this point, and he obviously was making the rounds with a lot of comments laying into the game, talking about how there's this all-star team. And there's 2 things with that. One, he's not wrong. It is kind of insulting to a lot of the actual all-star players that you're bringing in, all of these rising star guys, all these kids that didn't really earn it to be a kind of the showcased event of the weekend. You're missing out on kind of the prestige of the entire event. You're kind of taken away from that. But the element to this that he is really missing is that's on him. That's on the players. It's not like Adam Silver woke up on last week and said, man, the All-Star game has been killing it. Why don't we add a little bit more to it and change it and bring in all these kids? He did that because the product has been terrible because the players haven't been playing hard, which includes Draymond. The literal reason why this has changed is because players like Draymond haven't been putting in the effort. It's been unwatchable, and the ratings have tanked because everyone recognizes what's happening on the court, that it is horrible to watch. If he would have been playing hard, and along with kind of the rest of the All-Stars the last few years, this never would have happened. We would have never had to go to the gimmick of having captains and like picking the teams. We would have never had to go to this gimmick of a 4-team tournament to try and make this happen and kind of spice it up a little bit. And the fact that like the lack of self-awareness to not realize, yeah, it's not great, but that's because of you. Like it's unreal that he can go through there and be a talking head and miss what is so clearly right in front of him that everyone else is kind of talking about. He's willing to point the finger at other people and talk about Adam Silver and these changes and stuff like that and not look in the mirror and be like, maybe I'm kind of at fault for this. Like, yeah, there is a problem with what's happening on the court. By the way, I'm on the court. Like, I have a chance to fix that, and I haven't. And ironically, of the guys that were trying hard, I thought Victor Wembanyama played hard. A foreigner who is brand new to the league. It's his first All-Star game, and he looked like he actually cared and was trying hard, and you could see the disappointment when they gave up the layup there at the end to win it when no one else was playing defense. He actually tried. You could see the disappointment in his face when he got kicked out of the skills competition because of the way that they handled it. Some of the younger guys actually care and are trying, and it's the older heads, which are criticizing the game, who are not really trying hard, and they're criticizing the product and the way that everything's being handled. Well, you are literally, as a player, the only person that can change what's happening on the court with the effort. Nobody else can. Adam Silver's trying because he's got to find a product. And I'm not here to say that Adam Silver's had a perfect run as commissioner, because he hasn't. I think he started off really well. I think a lot of the changes he's done since then have been terrible, and I feel like he is way too much pro player and not pro league, and I think he needs to tighten the reins a little bit. But when it comes to the All-Star game, what do you want him to do? Is he supposed to go in the locker room and give you a halftime speech and be like, hey, guys, let's have some effort out there today, and is that going to do it? Is that going to rile everyone up? No. That's not going to be the result there. He can only do so much. It falls on the players, and the players have to play hard. And ironically, again, it's the older players in the league that are complaining about the effort. The younger players are kind of giving it a little bit more effort, which makes me want to say maybe this whole rising star team isn't that bad of an idea after all. At least those guys are going to play hard, and it's going to get to the pride of the older players and force them to play a little bit harder, which is what you saw in that first little semifinal game. The younger guys were really getting after it. Now, they did not have the same talent by any means as the older guys, but at least they sparked a little bit of that competitive fuel, and we saw basketball, which is all any fan wants to see in an all-star game. I'd rather watch a regular season game with no-name guys that are playing hard than an all-star game where you have the best guys in the sport, but they aren't trying at all and just shooting half quarters and uncontested layups and dunks. Like that, the warm-up line all-star game that we have seen the last few years, I can't watch it. I really it's something I put on in the background, and I'll look over, and then I just get angry and get up on my stump, and then I walk away, and then I come back hoping that maybe something's changed. So the big takeaways: kudos to the younger players this year for trying hard and actually giving a little bit of an effort and semblance of some actual basketball out there. I don't blame Adam Silver for this, because what is he going to do? Older players need to look in the mirror and recognize the fact that they are ruining the All-Star game, the All-Star weekend. They kind of have ruined it, and now that it's this younger wave that are maybe, hopefully, and maybe I'm just naive because it's the first time I've seen it in a while and I'm so hopeful that it actually is a thing, but maybe they're actually going to bring it back a little bit. We'll see. I mean, I have hopes. I really would love it to be the All-Star game that I watched as a kid and actually has substance, but I don't know. We'll see. And third, can we just play some basketball? The breaks, the incessant breaks throughout the entire game, unreal. Just so much Kevin Hart, so much TNT crew. It was almost like it was a goodbye to them more than it was a basketball exhibition game. So maybe if this is just the only year you do it, but I feel like there was a better way to do it than just every 10 minutes doing something else and breaking up. There was no flow whatsoever. And if basketball is nothing else, it is a sport and a game of flow, and you kind of get lost in that. And if you keep breaking it up like that, you're not getting lost in the game. You're very, very aware of how many stoppages there were and how painful it was to watch that whole thing. So I guess at the end of the day, better. It is better. We had a better showing. We have a long way to go to get back to kind of the All-Star game that I love. But at least this year, it feels like we're moving in the right direction. But we got a long way left to go still.